So, so basically in my class, we had to figure out like different problems in the world. And one of the problems I really started focusing on was like the transition online for learning with like COVID and all of that happened. And then I got really into like the accessibility to like music education and that like if students have that and everything. So to begin, could you just tell me like a little bit of your background and like where you teach?
I'm the band director at Panama Central School. I teach grades 5 through 12 and also an 8th grade general music class. This is my 34th year of teaching, 29.
Oh no.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Was it you or me?
You like dropped from my screen for a second.
Oh, okay. How about this? I'll stand in my instrument room. See if that
Okay.
works. Are you there? I mean, am I frozen or are you frozen? You're frozen.
I'm frozen. You look okay on my screen. So I think we're okay.
I'm walking. Okay, so are you frozen or is it just me? My internet connection is unstable, it says.
Oh, okay. I think mine's okay. I can see you and hear you fine.
Okay. All right. So anyway, did you get what I said before though?
Yes, I did.
The band director at Panama,
Mm-hmm.
look at my hair. It's like, oh my God.
So could you briefly like talk about your
Okay.
transition to online teaching this past year?
Yeah. Okay. Hang on a second. I don't know what's going on with this. Talk about what?
Your transition to online teaching and like the difficulties that you faced.
I wish this internet wasn't so. Are you like move for me so I know that you're moving? Yes, you're frozen on my end.
Oh, okay.
All right, say what you're going to say again. I'm
I was
good
just
right now, I
asking
think.
about like your transition to online teaching and the difficulties that you faced.
Okay, so when we went into quarantine last March, I am in person right now, but when we went into quarantine last March, it was like I was a first year teacher again. Only because within a day, I was like, had to grab stuff from school. I didn't even really know what I was going to be doing. And I think like for the first 2 weeks were extremely hard because I teach ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like I was pushing assignments out to the kids online, things that were probably not really relative to performing arts, but more like busy work because I really didn't know what else to do. And one day I just was like, you know what, this isn't working. Why reinvent the wheel? So I continue to push out different assignments to reach all students, but had the kids sign up for Zoom lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And so every half hour, it basically was like running a private studio through Zoom. And wow, it was great because I remember those first couple of lessons I started giving. I think I started with 3 one week. And it was just so great to see the kids. My schedule built where I focused in the morning, first thing in the morning, mostly on answering emails and setting up the lessons for maybe the next day. Then I taught straight for several hours. And then at the end of the day was me like recapping the day and setting up the next day. Tricky parts of it was that I felt like I was on call 24/7 because kids would email me all hours of the day and evening. So, and because of the situation that we were in, I wanted to give them their immediate feedback right away, because just to try to keep making those connections with the kids. So even if it was 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, I stopped what I was doing, even if I was cooking dinner, to sit down and answer an email to a kid. But I really felt that the growth of the kids who took the Zoom lessons was unbelievable by the time that we finished. And like I ended every lesson with like, like a virtual high five, and worked mostly on developing their confidence with what they were doing. Not so much tone quality, but we did a lot of rhythm type of work, and because I couldn't evaluate tone quality over a computer. Right. But a lot of the kids finished a lesson book or even 2 lesson books during quarantine. And really, I think all of the kids felt like they saw their growth as well. And we were like really excited and proud of it. And now as we go back into this new school year, it's great to see the kids in person and really talk about some of the great things that they did, and they can still see that how that growth is really helping them. Once we realized that we weren't having a concert last year because we had music that we were working on, I really turned my teaching to, well, if you're going into 9th grade now, you're going to be in the high school band, this is where we really need you to be, and let's work and focus on those skills that are going to help you play high school music better or whatever. So yeah, so it worked out. And now we're in school. I have a couple of remote learners that I cater to while I might be teaching an ensemble here, but I don't know if you can see my room. I have everybody at 6 feet apart. And we have, for instance, on the back of our trumpets or all of our instruments, they have bell covers.
Oh, okay.
And because I was like, okay, when we get back to school, I want to play. So, and then I have, I ordered face masks that have a slit in it so that they can play their trumpet still.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Or any instrument they have. And it just gives us the opportunity to hold ensembles right now with the kids so that we can like play. Now I have, for instance, in my room, again, as you can see, and I've got waste baskets so they can dump their spit in or their reeds or whatever. But, I can fit 26 in here. So, which is as many as I have. Like I don't have my entire high school band in one room at the same time, or any of them actually, but I have 26 kids on one day, and it's like, and in like, we're in house 1 and house 2. So today is a house 2 day, which means I have the other half of the band. But in house 2 for senior band, I don't have any trumpets. They're all in house 1. Oh. So it's interesting because the kids are used to sitting so close to each other, like right here with these 2 chairs here and here. They might be able to fit 2 more people in between them. So it's a confidence thing with the kids having to say, you feel like you're playing by yourself, but you're going to be better at the other end of it, because you have to feel like you're playing by yourself and you can't hide with someone else. And so we just keep looking for the good. Like, you know what? Here's the story. We're in this, but we're here. And yeah, you might feel like you're lonely sitting here, but you're going to only be stronger player for it because of the situation. So that when we put everybody back together, all the little pieces of the puzzle are going to be able to fit right in, and you're going to be able to do it. So a lot of times, like especially this morning in high school band, there's not as many kids in this house. Maybe there's like 15, but the instrumentation is different because all the trumpets for some reason ended up in the other house. So I'll play the recording and then the kids can play along with the recording after I've taught them a certain section so they can feel how to put it all back together.
That's awesome. When the students were forced to go home, did they all have like access to the instruments that they needed? Did a lot of them own their own instruments?
A lot of my kids play school instruments. I asked my kids to take instruments home that day. We were all thought we would probably be out, say 2 weeks, but then it kept going 2 more weeks. Hindsight's 2020, no pun intended. I found I actually, we were allowed to come back into school and get stuff. I ended up delivering like 18 instruments. Things like valve oil and reeds. I kept having to ask somebody the bus driver who's delivering lunches, hey, can you go in my room? He got to know like where all my stuff was. And can you grab so many reeds? And when you drop off lunches, could you bring them to a certain person's house or valve oil or whatever? So I ordered enough valve oil where every single kid has their own bottle of valve oil.
Wow.
And I labeled, the valve oil. Every kid has a labeled bottle of valve oil so that they don't have to share. And, because I can't do that again. If we were told like at any minute in time we might be remote, I need to know that these kids have valve oil, they have reeds. I ordered tons of reeds for the kids so they know how to, we learned a little bit from that, so I don't have to worry about it.
Right. What do you think is the most important part about like the music experience?
Can you tell me exactly what you mean?
Like for instance, like development of like a student's development, like cognitively, emotionally, like how do you think that, like where do you think is the most important part of how it affects someone's development?
Okay, so cognitively, let's think about like fifth graders. I have my fifth graders starting now, and we take all fifth graders. We don't say, oh, you can play because you're smart. I think as you develop through the program, think about all the things that we're asking these kids to do at one time. Hold your instrument. In fifth grade, I'm going to start here because this is what we're doing now. How to hold your instrument, how to put your instrument together, how to correctly produce a sound, use your tongue, where's your lips go. And then you get them to read music. You have to look at the note. Like if you're playing an F and the next note's a G, you have to be looking at that G while you're playing the F so that you can fluently go to the next note. And so you're asking these kids to do like 5, 6 things at a time. And I'm really noticing it a little to the next degree. In 6th grade, they pulled my 6th graders out of my middle school band because there's just too many kids to have in here. So I have 6th grade by themselves, and they lost a lot last year by leaving in March as 5th graders. So I'm really working with them on fluency and reminding them you will be able to better play this music if you can keep looking farther along and looking at the whole measure, not just at the note. And then, as you know, by the time that these kids graduate, who are your honor society kids? Valedictorians, salutatorians, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times the kids are in music, band. Always, I could say I mean, like I could look at these 5th graders and go, I can guarantee somebody in here will be the valedictorian.
Yeah.
And again, it's not because we're like, wow, you're really smart. And I think too that a lot of kids come in here and they might not excel in academics, but they excel in their instrument. So that gives them their own confidence about being really good at something. And maybe I'm the only teacher in their day that said, wow, that was amazing. How many kids get that in the day?
Right.
So they develop confidence. They have to work together as a team, especially when they get a little bit older. I tell them, like, if you got an 88 on your math test, that is great. But if you're only playing 88% of your notes and rhythms correctly in here, we got a problem. Oh, you have to be 100% of the time. Now, when they're learning, I encourage them to make mistakes because I think they need to learn how to take chances. kids don't want to be wrong. They feel like it's failure. But in my class, I need them to go out of the box and take chances and be willing to make mistakes, because I feel like that's when the biggest growth happens.
Yeah, definitely.
And I suppose emotionally too, I think about it when you're concentrating and really playing music and they're playing together, especially as an ensemble, or even if you're practicing by yourself, you're probably not thinking about whatever. If you walked at the door with a problem, you probably forgot you had it by the time that you were involved
Mhm.
in what you're doing in my class. It's still waiting for you. Maybe it won't be so bad when you walk back out the door, but for
Right.
that time when you're engaged in here, it really is a great emotional outlet for
I
the kids.
definitely agree with that. I like was in music classes all through high school, and my brother is also, he's an elementary general music teacher, so music's been like a big part of my life and everything too, so I totally agree with that. Um do you think that there has been a lack of accessibility to music education for students?
Um, you know, I would say yes, but I can't speak to that though, because in our school, we are very lucky for the size school we have. We have 3 music teachers still, 3
Mhm.
full-time music teachers, and um, we have an administration who believes in a well-rounded child, and music is just as important as everything else. So we are lucky to have such a supportive administration who feels that way.
Mhm.
Like I have 5th grade and 6th grade every day. If you're in band and not chorus, I see these kids every single day in 5th
Mhm.
and 6th grade, even like during this pandemic.
Right.
So, I mean, plus lessons.
So there's a high importance for music, especially for your school.
Oh, definitely.
So for this class, we basically had to form teams, and now we're in the process of like kind of finding solutions to our problems, which would in return like spark new businesses, and that's how we would become like entrepreneurs basically. So me and my team, we kind of came up with a couple different solutions, and I just want to hear your like opinions on them. They're definitely not like businesses yet or whatever, but they were just kind of thoughts that we had. The first one is like
Mm-hmm.
after school programs where students would be given like accessibility to instruments and could have more time to, I guess, make it more like supplemental instruction to the music education that they're already given. Um, the second thing that we thought of was like monthly subscriptions to like instruments where anyone could do this, but basically like each month you might want to try out a new instrument and get it, and you'd be able to like learn it and kind of figure it out on your own and have that experience. And then the third thing we thought of was people in like your neighborhood or community who don't utilize their like an instrument that they have. Say they have like a clarinet they played in high school and they don't use it anymore. They would be able to like rent it out to other community members so that they could have access to those instruments. So I was just wondering what your opinions of those were, or if you think that any of them are good ideas or.
I feel like your first and third ideas are your strongest ones.
Mhm.
I'm not so sure that the second one would go, just because I mean, if you let somebody try out an instrument for a month, you've got to have somebody there who's like, you can't just say, I'm going to try a trumpet for a month unless you know what to do with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, your third one is really a really good thought, but I'm wondering if you could more do it so that you would collect the instrument and give the person, like say you have a clarinet, well, maybe they could donate it to your business for a tax write-off, and then you could create a business in which maybe you could give those instruments to create like a little thing, like a YMCA after school type thing. You can combine your first and your third things together, where you could create an opportunity for kids who need an instrument without charging them.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good idea.
I will tell you that I work really hard to get instruments for my kids so they don't have to rent or buy. I remember a while ago, and I've written grants too, for that purpose. I remember a while ago, I heard this kid singing, fifth grader singing as he was walking down the hall, or her, whoever it was. And I just looked at her and I said, gosh, I go, why aren't you in band? Now this is May. And she said, well, my mom said I couldn't be because we couldn't afford an instrument. Well, that broke my heart, because there I lost probably a really interested, perhaps talented student. And right then and there, I changed everything, like about how that works. I had a student who borrowed a teacher's flute when she was in 5th grade. By the time she got to 7th grade, she used a school oboe. She made conference all-state on oboe, and now is a music teacher or a professional oboist in Chicago. Now remind yourself, when she was in 5th grade, she had to borrow a teacher's flute.
Wow.
Had she not borrowed somebody, because she couldn't afford to rent or own her own instrument, had she not done that, she wouldn't be where she is today. So providing music education, band specifically in this area, in this category, needs to be made available to everybody, not just those who can afford it, which goes back to your ideas where maybe you would create an opportunity to provide instruments for kids in an after-school situation and teach them. And then that would be something that you could garner support of foundations, and like would be like a really cool after school thing, especially for kids. So like you think about like that East Side YMCA on 2nd Street, right?
Yeah.
Like that would be like a really cool place to do something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate your input on those. That was very helpful. I don't have any more questions, but is there anything else that you would like to add, or any other people you think I should contact about this?
I don't know, if I think of somebody, I can give you their contact.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
I've got the teacher I work with is the chorus teacher, and her situation is similar but a little bit different than mine. And she's a 3rd-year teacher, so it might be fun to ask her. So I'll give you her contact information.
Okay.
Her name's Jenna. She's really nice, but it might be interesting to get an opinion of a person who's only been in the field for 3 years. She's a very good teacher, but you know, it might be interesting in that regard, because she might have something a little bit different to say on how she feels, how she handled pandemic, and how she's dealing with things now, because I can be 6 feet apart. She has to be 12.
Oh, wow.
She's doing things completely different than me.
Yeah.
Because she has to.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I'll give you her contact information though. Does that sound good? And I'll let her know that you'll be in touch with her.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help.
Oh my gosh, no problem. And if you need anything else, just let me know, okay?
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.